Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing our Whimpering Waste Reset, as well as also talking about how Wuthering Waves, in my opinion, needs to add a new endgame mode. And no, I don't mean exactly just adding a new mode, because we need to talk about this, because we did just we did just add End State Matrix, but there's an issue with that, so let's go ahead and just start talking about this. So first let me figure out where I need to go. Right, 9. But so new endgame. I know what you're thinking. We just got a new endgame. Yes, but also at the same time, what I'm talking about is what we need is a new type of endgame mode. Because if you look at the ones we currently have, you start to realize that they're basically all the same thing with just slightly different variations. So let me explain a little bit more. So we have TOA, which is floor challenges with a timer. You fight multiple enemies, sometimes waves of enemies. It's just basically, can you beat them all within the timer? And then you have Whimpering Waste, which is fight a wave of enemies, try to get through them all before the timer runs out. Once again, another timer. Then we have End State Matrix, the new game mode, the new endgame mode. Once again, fight the enemies until the timer runs out. I think you're starting to understand what I mean here, is that every endgame mode is just a DPS check with a timer. If you really want to like narrow them down, you have TOA, just general DPS check, more focused on like single target, not really AoE target. And then you have Whimpering Waste, which is a DPS check but an AoE. How much damage can you spread out to a large group of enemies, allowing Resonators like Camellia, GN, Frolova to really shine, and making characters like Carlotta. Who else is a really big single target? Jinshi, I would say, is kind of more single target than AoE. Phoebe, characters like that, they struggle a bit more due to having to lose a lot of their build-up or buffs. Luke is another good example, due to having to take out a lot of groups of enemies, constant waves of enemies. And then you have End State Matrix, which is just a boss kill check. DPS check, but with bosses. Just straight bosses. And it's also technically a resonance check to see how many copies you have of characters, but you can clear it even with S0 characters, so I'm not going to exactly give it that title. But at the end of the day, I think you guys kind of get what I'm saying here, is that everything is just a variation of a fight with a timer. There's no difference, there's no spice to it, you know? It's just it's like they're barely giving us some salt and pepper on our stuff. When we want more, we want paprika, Cajun, we want garlic salt, we want cumin, I don't even know, what other spices can you think of? Ajo. Okay, ajo is just garlic in Spanish, my bad. But you get what I'm saying, is like, I want them to spice it up a little bit, you know? This is Kuro. We know that they're capable of being inventive. They've had some cool stuff in the past. We've had the Towers events, the Tower event that is kind of like from PGR. That was really fun to do. I understand why they want to make that an endgame mode, and even then that still had a timer. But I'm just saying, like, we've seen this company do cool stuff with other gacha games, with PGR and stuff. We've seen them do cool events and cool combat events in Wuthering Waves. So why can they not do that and give us an interesting or a slightly more different version of an endgame mode, rather than what we've been getting? Oh, so I am now realizing that my Chongli does not have any echoes. What? That's awkward. We're gonna clear this anyways, but I gotta fix that afterwards. So then begs the question, okay, what could they do? And there's a lot of things they could do, honestly. One idea that I've been thinking about for a while, that I'm not sure in practice would actually be all that great, but I think it'd be something interesting for them to try out in like an event, is to have a style mode. where the challenge is to gain points by doing certain things in a fight. So like, let's say for instance, in this, let's say it's divided into floors, right? In floor 1, you get 10 points for performing a resonance skill. You get 20 points if it actually deals resonance skill damage. Or you get 10 points for performing resonance skill damage, and you get 20 points if you're actually doing a resonance skill. So that way, it actually incentivizes you to get a higher score by using resonance skill resonators, because they get extra points since they're doing more resonance skill damage. But you still get points for using resonance skills, so it doesn't mean if you don't have a resonance skill user, you're kind of screwed. No, you'll still be able to clear it, but if you want like the highest score possible, then you would want to use someone like Carlotta rather than someone like Galbrenna, who doesn't do any resonance skill damage. Something like that would be interesting to do. They could really mix it up. They could do things like, oh, for every negative status you apply, you get extra points. So that way you would have a negative status for this floor you want to do basic attack damage. And they could have it to where they could do it with a timer. I'm also going to back out and redo that once I fix my Chong-Li build. But yeah, they could do something like that. I think that would be interesting. They can mix it up so that way you're not really going to want to be using high damaging teams here. You're going to be wanting to use teams that fulfill the quota. So they can mix it up and do, like, for this one, resonance skill and liberation damage. So you would want to use like a dual DPS setup maybe, with like Carlotta and another liberation skill user like Yao or Yuno. So even though Yuno and Carlotta don't really work all that well together, that they would work well together in that mode because they're asking for liberation damage and for resonance skill damage to score extra points. So this mode would incentivize you to not really be using teams that are meant to do this high amount of damage in this quick amount of time. But in reality, it's asking for you to use teams that fit the mold that they want, so that way you can try out some really weird comps that you wouldn't use in TOA or Whimpering Waste or End State Matrix. I think that'd be a really interesting game mode that they could try. Like I said, I'm not sure how well that would work in practice, plus that's also something that they could very easily, knowing how gacha games like to take it the easy way a lot of the times, that is something that they could very easily just end up sticking another timer onto, and just be collect as many points as you can within the timer. And it's just like, I think it'd be better if they made it to where the longer you're in that mode, like the longer you're on a floor, you get less points multiplier, kind of like Shiyu Defense, the new Shiyu Defense in ZZZ. And the longer you're in the mode, the enemies start dealing more damage to the point where they're one-shotting you. I think that would be an interesting way of still having a timer on the game mode, but in reality, instead of having like an actual physical timer on top of the screen, the timer is the longer you're in here, the easier it's going to be for the enemies to kill you, to the point where even a random, let's say a random cow from Hong Long can just one-shot you, you know? If they decide to randomly spawn that in. It's just like, I think that's just a really interesting thing they could do. I'm sure there's things that they could iron out, and I'm not a gacha game developer, I'm not a game developer, I just play games. So I'm sure there's a lot of factors here that I'm not thinking of. One factor would be how they would sell characters, because at the end of the day, no matter how much for the players a company is, or how much it seems like they're player friendly, at the end of the day, their goal is to still try to get as much money out of us in any way that they can. And I think this mode still kind of has a way for them to sell new units, because they could make it to where, oh, for this reset, we're going to make it to where you need this certain type of damage. Oh, who does this damage? Well, what do you look at that? The new banner character does that damage. Oh, there you go. If you summon for this character, you'll have an easier time in this game mode. Same way it works with TOA and stuff when they add in the specific buffs and Whimpering Waste. So I think they could still sell characters using this game mode, and it'd be something that could finally work without having an actual physical timer. And it rewards players for being skillful. Is one, knowing how to use multiple characters, being able to build up your points quickly by knowing how to use switch style or quick swap play styles. It rewards you for knowing how to dodge enemy attacks. They could really make it get crazy by having two bosses like active at the same time the deeper you get in. Like, imagine having to dodge Crownless and the false sovereign at the same time. Like, you know, that could really reward skilled players for understanding these bosses or enemies movesets and not getting hit, despite the fact that they're able to one-shot you through your shield and your healing. You know, I feel like it would be a really fun game mode that a lot of people would enjoy and can still very easily be casual friendly while having a lot of room for skill expression players or for people who really want to push the limits and get the highest score possible. You can even add like an endless mode if you want to make it to where, if you want to make it like Whimpering Waste, where it's like, oh, so in this floor they have 7 enemy waves. If you get through them all, then you'll get the max amount of points possible. Or this is the max amount of points you can get if you use all the right characters and you do so much damage with these 7 waves. Then once you get to the end, you have an endless mode where it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder and harder, and just waiting to see how much you do. You start doing less damage, so that way it makes it harder for you to progress. Like, there's so many. I think it's a cool game mode. I think they could make it work. And I would be interested to see them try it out in an event. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any event that's already done that. I want to say there might have been one, because I'm gonna be honest, I really don't think I came up with that on my own. I must have seen it from somewhere or been inspired from somewhere. So there might have been an event that already had kind of like a similar type of thing. I want to say the towers did. There might have been a modifier in the tower that was like, oh, resident skill damage is higher, but this damage is lower. I feel like I might have gotten it from there. But regardless, I think that'd be a cool endgame idea. I think another cool endgame idea would be adding some kind of co-op endgame, but I do understand the issues about why they would probably not want to do that, because then that requires people to play with others, and you never know how bad that can get or how difficult that can be. I mean, just in Dragon Ball Legends, another gacha game that I play, I do get frustrated sometimes doing the raids because you're forced to do them with another person, and it can be very aggravating when people do stuff. Like, imagine if there was a co-op endgame mode where it's like, oh, resonant skill damage is increased by 90, basic attack damage is decreased by 120, and then the other character brings in Luke. Like, your other partner brings in Luke. So that would be frustrating to deal with people who don't understand restrictions and stuff, or try to play through restrictions like that. Because then it's just harming other people and making it harder for you guys to clear, or making it harder for someone to clear. So I can understand not wanting to do a co-op endgame mode, but I honestly think that would be really cool. One idea that I really want them to do is raids. You know, like, I feel like calling it raids would be the easiest thing, or the most, like, the closest analogy I can make, but think about it. We have so many little scenario sphere areas that aren't used anymore. They're only used for like one thing or one event, like Carlotta's quest where she goes to the alternate world. We have Zani's quest where she goes to that underground area. Who else has a quest that has a separate area? Cantarella has one. There's another one in Renaissance that I'm thinking of. I think, did someone have one in Septima? Yuno had the whole chaos realm area, so I feel like finding a way to incorporate those areas back in would be nice. And I think it would be interesting to do like a raid thing where it's like, oh, we're gonna take this area that we've used, that we don't use anymore, from a character quest, from some exploration quest from before. We're gonna fill it with high level enemies, like all 120 enemies. We're gonna put in an objective where you have to go around the area and collect so many things to open a door, or maybe you have to defeat so and so many enemies, and then you do this, and then at the very end you'll face a very high level challenging boss. And with that, you would have 3 different players all using different resonators. Maybe you could have a thing where people are able to bring in, you would pick your resonator that you play as, and then your support resonator. So your support resonator could be like a sustain, so that way even though no one's playing a healer, you will have the ability to use your support resonator, and they will come in and do a quick little heal for everyone. So like everyone could have like a support ability. Like for most characters, maybe it'd just be like their outro skill. So like for, let's say, Phoebe, if you're playing Zani and then you pick Phoebe as your support resonator, she'll drop in and do her little outro thing with the lasers, if you know what I'm talking about. In fact, we'll play Well, we'll play those two right now just to kind of show you. Do I want them on first row or second row? Probably second row, actually. Go ahead and switch them. Do I want to play with Shortkeeper? I kind of want to switch to Rover instead, but we have Rover on Havoc. We'll stick with this for now, but like, we'll just do Toon Break here. Let me make sure these guys are set up correctly. So, where was I? So yeah, you would have things like that, to where that character doesn't actually come out with you. You can't actually switch to them, but you're still able to use their outros or their special ability. For some characters, you could probably change them to make them a little bit more fair, more useful. So that way, you don't have to worry about someone playing as Shortkeeper, Verena, or Sustain. Or, what would be another way of doing that? See, this is what I'm talking about. I feel like that idea probably needs a little bit more... what's the word I'm looking for? That idea probably needs a little bit more time for me to, like, you know, cook it up, kind of figure out exactly how I would want it to work, but I feel like you guys kind of get the gist. I feel like that would be a cool event to have, and also, just in general, I feel like we need more co-op stuff. That's why I kind of recommended, like, a co-op endgame mode, so maybe having the co-op raid be, like, an event that's technically an endgame mode, but it's like an event. It can stay up for like a whole version or two. You know, it doesn't have to be something that refreshes every 2 weeks, like TOA and Whimpering Waste. It could definitely be something that ends up being like a one version thing, or maybe every other version, however they want to do it. But yeah, like I don't know. I just think we need something, you know. Like, don't get me wrong, TOA is super fun. End State Matrix is fun. Whimpering Waste can be kind of fun at times, but it gets really repetitive, so I don't know if I'd really consider that too fun. And I know a lot of people don't exactly like Whimper Waste, and that's why I think we need a new endgame mode, and not just new endgame like end state, but just something completely different, something to spice it up, give us something to look forward to, give us something to be excited about. Because I really don't think if they were to announce another new endgame mode and then they're like, it is another timer-based fight, I don't really think many people would be excited. At that point, I feel like people would just be like, okay, how many asterisks does it give? Okay, cool, that's it. You know, I feel like the actual mode itself, people really wouldn't care about it at that point. It'd just be like, okay, how many asterisks does it give? I mean, it's just another timer-based thing. I feel like that would be the general sentiment around it. I know people were excited for End State Matrix, and so far, I feel like the reception to it has been mostly positive. At least from the people who understand what it is, because End State Matrix is definitely supposed to be a real, like, challenging endgame mode. It's not meant to be taken on early, that's why you have to complete... If I remember right, you are required to beat, like, fully complete 36 TOA, and then get... I don't think you have to get triple S on Infinite Waves, but I do think you have to get double S. It might just be S on Infinite Waves, but yeah, they do make sure you can beat, like, fully clear both endgame modes, both of the other endgame modes, before you can even access End State Matrix. So maybe adding something that isn't that intense might be a good idea. I don't know. I know there's a lot of debates in Wuwa between, like, the higher, more skill-based players. I don't know if that's the way I want to say it, but people who care more about the skill expression of Wuwa compared to more of the casual fan base. Because you have people saying, oh, this is too easy, this is too easy, we need harder stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, you're resetting like 7 times, trying to do these perfect quick swap rotations where you're fitting in 500 attacks all at once. We just want to get on and do just a simple 1-2-3 rotation. Like, you do definitely got to find a fine balance there. And honestly, I honestly would be down for them to do an endgame mode, or just a new, like, permanent game mode where there's no Astrite rewards. That just give you a bunch of, like, oh, here's a bunch of character level XP, here's a bunch of Echo XP, and that's what the rewards are. But I feel like most companies wouldn't do that because, one, I feel like not having Astrites or whatever your summoning material or summoning currency is means they understand a good chunk of the player base won't play that mode. They're like, oh, it doesn't let me get more stuff to summon people? I don't care about it then, you know? So I feel like that's probably one reason why there's no modes like that, even though I would greatly appreciate that. That's mainly because I build a lot of characters for showcases and stuff, and I'm still trying to catch up from when I didn't play. So there's a bunch of characters I still need to build from like 1.x and stuff, because I would like to do showcases for them just to see how they hold up in current day Wuwa. But I also need to balance all the material I use with for the new characters coming out, because I do want to record showcases on day one of when a character releases. So I'm always down for there being more material, so I don't have to juggle or be as conservative with some of my material. But I understand, like I said, if there's no materials, people just won't, or there's no asteroids, people just won't play a game mode. I mean, we still have, there's people who never played companion quests, despite those giving asteroids, because they weren't the main story quests, or because they're just like, it doesn't really matter, it's not a character I like, it doesn't give it a lot of asteroids, I don't need to do it. And that's one reason why we don't really have a companion quest anymore, because they probably saw the amount of players that did them, and they were like, well, considering the number is not bigger, we probably don't want to invest more resources into this, so we're just going to go ahead and start implementing them in the main story quests, so that way people will actually experience them and our resources won't feel wasted. I mean, that's kind of how it works. I mean, it's kind of funny to think that some people don't like the fact that companion quests are kind of baked into the story quests now, because they didn't play them before, but because they didn't play them before, unless they like the character, that ended up making them get added into the story quest, because Kuro didn't want, or a game development company wouldn't want to make all these big, extensive story quests with voice actings and stuff, and then half the player base doesn't play them. So they're like, well, if we're going to use these resources, we might as well put them into the main story quest, you know? I feel like it's the same thing that happened in HSR, so it's just, I didn't have Phoebe's signature weapon on her. Why are all my builds, all my builds are messed up because I've been testing random stuff. Let's see here, but yeah, so that's why I understand why they won't add an endgame mode or a challenging game mode that doesn't reward asteroids, because I honestly thought End State Matrix wasn't going to reward any, but it still does, but it doesn't give that many. So that way people who can't access the mode don't feel like they're missing out, or people who can't clear the mode, like the more casual player base who don't really play Wuwa all that much, they just get on, play their favorite character, so they don't have like best in slot teams, they just kind of summon who they want, and that is perfectly fine. I'm not saying that's an issue, that is a perfectly fine way to play a gacha. In fact, I would say it's probably the best way to play a gacha. Just pulling who you want, who you like to play as. But that does mean you'll struggle in modes like End State Matrix, so to help make up for that, they made sure that the asteroid rewards in that mode weren't even all that much. I think it's only like, what, 200, 300, 400 at most? I want to say it's 400 actually, now that I said that. That's only like, what, just a little over 2 pulls, so you're not really missing much if you're not able to clear. So that's smart on their part to do that. But yeah, I can definitely see that kind of shows my point about how I said they wouldn't make these challenging modes because they don't want to exclude anyone, and they don't want to make a mode that no one wants to play, so they have to put asteroids in. That's why they won't make an endgame mode that doesn't have asteroids and its rewards and stuff. So it's a very delicate balance that they have to do, but just because it's a delicate balance doesn't mean I'm not going to ask for it. I think it's one thing some people kind of forget. Just because they're gacha companies, like these are gacha companies, just because they do good things for the players every once in a while, or as for Kuro, who have been, for the most part, been very player friendly, especially after the bad launch of Wuthering Waves, just because they do this, that doesn't earn them a break, in my opinion. If anything, that means their expectations are set higher to be to be considerate of the players, because we know that they have this in their, they know that they have the ability to be very forgiving, very rewarding to the player. So whenever they do scummy stuff, we're gonna call them out on it. Even if, like, I like Kuro, I like Wuthering Waves, I think their product's amazing, I play it all the time, obviously. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna give them a break on stuff. Like, spending event, I still think it's a really crappy thing to do. Hiding stuff in the spending event, keeping stuff in the spending event. The store from the last anniversary, I don't remember what it was called, it was like the Night Store or something like that. that required you to summon to get currency for it, that's scummy, because then people who don't summon get screwed over. And there was some pretty decent stuff in there, from what I remember. I don't remember like the selection of items being bad, so it's stuff like that where it's like, just because you're good to us sometimes doesn't mean we're not gonna call you out on your bad stuff. So I think that's one thing people sometimes forget with these gacha companies. They make more than enough money. More than enough money. Like, for them to not, in my opinion, whenever like those gacha polls come out, when it's like, oh, this patch will have so and so many polls and stuff, this patch will have this many polls and stuff, I always look at those and my first thought is they could do more. They could easily do more, but they have to, you know, they can't do too much because then less people will pay. And it's just like, in my opinion, these companies make enough money as is. They could afford to give more polls and not really see that much of a dent in their earnings, but you gotta make money, and companies these days are very greedy. Plus, video game development is also very expensive. I'm not gonna act like it's not. So yes, they do make a lot of money, but they also do put a decent chunk of money back in. Some gacha games don't. I'm not gonna say names, but I'm gonna say some gacha games really don't seem like they do. But I would say Wuthering Waves does a really good job of putting back their earnings into the game itself. But hey, they could always do better. That's always gonna be my motto when it comes to gacha games. They do this amazing thing. Hey, I'm glad they did that. I'll give them praise for it. But hey, they can do even better. that's always gonna be my motto with gacha games. And I feel like that's a motto a lot of people, or a mentality a lot of people should take is, yeah, Wuthering Waves does a lot of great stuff for the players. They can do better. They could always do better. And we should always be asking for better. Not to say we can't be grateful for what they give us. We can still be grateful, but also at the same time, not settle for less, you know what I mean? Because then you start getting situations where companies think it's okay to pull certain scummy stuff because we were okay with it the first time because, oh, you know, they did this last patch, so we'll let them get away with this, you know, like now. Always voice your opinion. And my opinion is, while yes, this game is amazing, they can always do better. And that might be greedy from my end, but hey, gacha companies are just as greedy. So if they're gonna be greedy, we be greedy right back, you know? But I feel like I kind of derailed from what the conversation was. We were talking about endgame mode. It kind of still lingers a little bit into endgame mode. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any other thoughts about other endgame modes that you think would be kind of cool, or like ideas that they could maybe add in, because, you know, maybe, you never know, they're always listening. I doubt they're watching this video, but maybe they'll see it, some of the talk on social media, people talking about new endgame modes and see an idea they think is cool, and they'll be like, hey, let's do this. Or maybe they'll be like, hey, people like this event, let's bring it back more often, like the towers. I'm honestly surprised we haven't gotten a tower rerun of 3.x yet. At least I don't believe we have. The last one was 2.7, I believe, when we got the last tower event. So it'd be cool for that to rerun again. But, yeah, I think now it's time to focus. We are at Infinite Torrents. I want to get the highest score here. I want to get Triple S. What is Triple S? Is it 55? It's 55. So what should we do here? I believe people were saying it's Havoc Resist. Yeah, I don't see people really running. There's one for Lova team, but most of these are non-for Lova teams in the popular team setups, so I'm assuming there is a lot of Havoc Resist in here, but that's not going to stop me. I'll still run for Lova. I don't care. I think she'll still do well enough. So, let's see here. Who do we want to run? So if we do this for first half... let's see here. I guess we'll run that. Is that really the best option we have? That one's pretty good. That's for Phoebe and Zani. What do we want to run? Do we just run Toon Break? Toon Break might be the move, honestly. I think we just go Toon Break second half. We'll try this. See if we can get 55. I want to see if I can break 60. But yeah, I think I rambled about what I want to ramble about, so I think now we're just going to focus. I'm not going to go dead quiet, but we're not going to be yapping. We're going to actually be paying attention here. And just to make sure we're paying attention, I'm going to go ahead and make sure we got all of our stuff correct. Make sure someone's not running some random set, or not a full echo set. Nah, everyone's got their stuff. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Alright, let's see how high we can get. See if we can end off this Whimpering Waste run on a good note. Alright, here we go. Do this. Get as many enhanced notes as we can. And now time for Show You When to come in. Okay, we got his ult. Alright, Galbrenna, I need you to do a lot of damage here. Okay. I need more damage. Might have to go to a Zani team to really get this out. Maybe the Havoc resist is just a bit too much for Frilova to really do much here. I guess I could go to Shorekeeper, but I don't know. I really don't like running the Shorekeeper with these Choyuan and Galbrenna. I don't really like that setup. I don't know why. It's not a bad setup or anything. It's just I've never really enjoyed it. Actually, you know who I could run here? I could just run Lupa instead of Forlova. That might honestly be the move. We'll see. If we can't break 3k here, then we might switch out and do that. I would like to break 3k. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to. Really depends on how well Galbrenna does right here. Okay. Oh, damn it. I was hoping I could get to Furlova's heavy attack in time. What do we get? 28? 28's not bad. Do I want to settle on 28 from... Let's settle. Let's settle on 28. I think Toon Break can get us to 6k. We need them to break 4k? Almost 4k? I think they can do it. Just gotta be on my game and paying attention to what I'm doing. It should be more than fine. It's gonna be a little slow here at the start, but once we start getting these Toon Breaks going, we should just start flowing through these waves. Oh, we're getting a little bit of lag. That's not good. That is very much not good. Okay, we can do this. Can do it again. Huge Toon Break here, please. Big damage. Big damage. Not big enough though, what? A bird actually lived? The bird lived a hit from the Extra Strider? Color me shocked. Color me shocked. Alright, Toon Break, come on. I talked you up big game. Talked up a big game for you guys. Don't let me down. I did not use my ult first. Come on, Imyth, I need you to start ripping through these crowds. These waves need to start going down in one hit. Oh my god, I didn't hit anyone with that. Oh, that is bad. I thought they would have spawned in by then. That's a huge loss, I'm not gonna lie. That is a huge loss. Oh, let's see if we can hopefully make up for it. You guys can probably hear me mashing the fuck out of my controller. I want to make sure we get these damn hits out. Alright, big hit coming in. Waited to make sure everything spawned in. Alright, we got one more rotation it seems. Criticality protocol. Come on, Lene, charge up faster. We're not gonna get another Imyth ult. Go ahead and just do this. We're not getting to the extra strider, but we can at least maybe kill these guys. I don't think we killed them, but we did do damage at least. 58! Well, we did get triple S, but we did not break S. So I want to retry it. Alright, I did retry it. I ended up doing worse with these two teams, so I'm not going to show that. But thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know, like I said earlier, about new endgame stuff, how you guys feel about it, what you would add, if you even think we need something new. Doesn't exactly have to be endgame, but just maybe like a new permanent mode that does refresh every once in a while. Doesn't have to be weekly, bi-weekly. Could be every other version, every version. I don't know. Just throw your ideas out there. I always like hearing new stuff from the community. I always think it's cool to bounce ideas back and forth with each other. Let me know how your Whimpering Waste runs went. I almost forgot that's what we were doing here. Let me know how your guys' runs went, how you managed to score. I got, what was it? What was my highest score? 5980? Can I check? Like, is there a... 5810. That was my highest that I got for this one. Last one I did get 6260. Really, I ran Lupa, Brant, Imyth. That was the team I ran? I do not remember running that team. What the fuck? Lupa, Brant, Imyth. Okay, I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, I think that was a Fusion Burst team that I did it with. I think I was trying out Imyth and Fusion Burst. And so I went Mono Fusion, but I used Brant instead of Mornay for whatever reason. Huh. I really wish I had recorded that. Now I'm glad that I'm recording these so I can always look back and see footage of what I did. But yeah, we managed to get 5810. I might try to go higher later, but for now, for the video, this is where it ends. Let me know if you broke 60. Let me know if you broke 70, maybe. Pretty sure there's people who can do that with like C6 characters and stuff, or C3 characters could probably do it. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. God bless, happy gaming, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.